All right. First, I'd like to point out that Pfizer, they had to pay Nigeria $75 million because they were doing illegal drug tests on people. I talk about the drug tests in the Bay Area, Fremont Hospital, and other places that have their patients who come in there stressed out, sign forms that say that they can do tests on them. And it's kind of funny how, not funny really, it's kind of sad. It's sick that these people do that kind of thing. And so now I'm going to show you how it all connects in. A lot of you are skeptical about, was law enforcement really following Mecca around? Was the people in the hospital really collaborating with law enforcement to give me a hard time and to create the kind of reaction that somebody with schizophrenia would play out? They wanted to create the symptoms of schizophrenia in me, even though they knew there was nothing wrong with me, because they wanted to put me on drugs and give my life a hard time because they knew I was cracking down on them. It was about them being wrong and me being right. And there was a small percentage of them who actually thought that maybe I did need the drugs and that they had to trick me into getting them, so they were colluding with the majority of people who were out for revenge and who are part of a great cabal of people. Now I'm going to play you the proof. A lot of you don't believe that this kind of collusion takes place. Well, for those of you who don't believe, here is Pfizer Global Security, and tell me what you make of this.
That work for Pfizer, they're driven to catch criminals, and we do that every day.
I work with very talented investigators, and the bottom line is we're trying to keep people safe.
Work with talented investigators, huh? Yeah, I see that.
Pfizer Global Security is a conglomeration of former law enforcement officers from different walks of life.
I was with the FBI before I joined Pfizer. I worked in the FBI laboratory where I did forensic testing.
The majority of my background was U.S. Customs.
I spent the first 30 or so years of my career as an assistant district attorney.
Pfizer was one of the first companies to then decide this is something we can't rely upon local law enforcement to do. We need to jump into this game and help tackle it. We've got the expertise from the medical side, from the distribution side. We can add to this thing.
It takes a lot of patience to build these cases and identify people who don't want to be identified. I try to dismantle these organizations, try to figure out how they're made, how the products are moving, who's involved, and try to figure out who these people are.
You're talking about controlling the drug trade.
My job is to make sure that law enforcement is aware of counterfeiters, where they are, who they are.
The crime is the same. I mean, much as I saw when I was with Customs, the smuggling organizations, where they were getting their stuff from, how they were getting it in, what they were trying to hide, how they were moving the money. Those are all the same.
So they're talking about controlling the drug trade, keeping people from really cutting in on their profits by creating counterfeit drugs. But really it makes no sense, because when people get a prescription drug, it isn't to go to a counterfeiter to buy it, it's to go to your local pharmacy. So what they're talking about really doesn't make much sense. What they're talking about is the illegal drug trade. It has nothing to do with medical experts, unless, of course, you're trying to control the drug trade. Continue.
Counterfeit medicines, as they would be with cocaine, as they would be with illegal arms.
They're the same bad guys. The same guys that I caught in the FBI are the same guys doing counterfeit pharmaceuticals. This job is as close to my old job as you can get without having a badge and a gun.
We have to train, we have to educate, we have to raise awareness. We take every opportunity we can get to sort of get out in front of an audience, whether it's an audience of doctors, of patients, of hospitals, and raise awareness, because at the end of the day, it's the health and safety of the patient that matters most.
Oh, really?
There are a number of websites that offer...
Well, I just showed you how these people collude together. It's on record that big pharmaceutical companies have off-duty law enforcement police officers and retired police officers on their staff. Just like Suge fucking Knight have retired police officers as his security. And I believe the head of his security is a retired LAPD detective. Anyway, bottom line, these guys are scum. They colluded to bring me into the psych ward, and they knew that they had a trump card, which was my parents were tricked into believing this kind of way of thinking, and they're also power freaks, control freaks, who wanted to punish me for not living my life the way they wanted me to. And they would use the fact that my parents were my employers and my landlords, so to speak. They allowed me to stay at their house, at their home. So, look at this, truly look at this from an insightful perspective. Don't look at this like they want you to look at it. They want you to say, "Oh, we're harmless. We're going after counterfeiters." You're monopolizing the drug trade, and you're making sure that the big pharmaceutical companies rake in huge profits so they in turn can fund campaigns to make sure that they continue to exist even though their medications kill more people than cocaine and heroin combined. Thank you. Hint, hint, thank you. Piece of shit. You too.